Hello! A few people have asked me for a tour of the workshop, so while it's remotely tidy, I thought I'd show you around. Right, the workshop. Yeah, I've had a few people that just want to look around. A lot of people, when they come here, they're quite surprised how small it is, because I guess wide angle lens, it appears bigger on your screens. So yeah, it's about 4 meters wide, 4 meters long. Ceiling height's about 2.2 meters, something like that. So it's not huge, but over the years I've kind of whittled it down to exactly what I need in here, and yeah, it's a good space to work in. There's nothing I don't need in here. I've got a big double garage, which I think will eventually become a demo room and listening room, and then the lower half of it, because it's split level and it's more like a triple garage, the lower level will become the workshop. I've got a big pair of double doors then for speakers in and out, and a parking space out the front. So I think that's probably what will happen. So yeah, this is the side with the doors. My whiteboard is here that I scribble a load of stuff down on. I tend to just keep bits and pieces of timber here that I use fairly often. Over in the corner here is my air compressor and tank. I've got a CCTV camera in here as well. My Ethernet switch and battery backup for the camera and that sort of thing there as well. Yeah, this is the boring side really. So just moving round to this side, I have my pillar drill, which isn't great, but it does what I need it to do. Really, I need something bigger, something a bit deeper as well. My bench grinder, that's really useful for quickly sharpening up drill bits, that sort of thing. My little bench sander, it's actually quite a good little bit of kit, that, just for, you know, tidying up edges of baffles or battens and things like that. Again, quickly sharpening drill bits, that sort of thing. Yeah, pretty handy really. I have a vacuum attachment for the drill and also this little sander. I'm quite anal about the dust that gets produced in the workshop, so my hoover's used all the time. We'll have a look at that shortly. Over here I've got my sander, round orbital sander that you see me use quite a lot, a little mouse sander which is quite handy, a load of larger hole saws. Here I've got some router bits, more router bits, a load of hole saws, 240 to 400 grit sanding pads, 40 to 120 grit sanding pads, a load of compressed air fittings, my little trim router which has a vacuum attachment on it as well, and the jig for hole cutting. And then further down, a load of Allen keys, drill bits, more hole saws, drum sanding bits, more router bits, impact driver bits, and then a load of sockets under here for the bits and pieces, and my battery charger for the air blower, my drill, my impact driver, and my 1/2 inch impact gun wrench there as well. This is the router table that I built quite a while ago, and it gets tons of use. I think one of the most useful tools building speakers is a router, be it a handheld one or something in a table. The router is under here, so I put my bits on, push it up to where I need it. It's in an airtight box, and the reason for that is so I can put the hoover attachment in here. I get a massive amount of suction then through the router hole, so pretty much all the dust and off-cut sawdust goes straight down there. I have a couple of fans here as well. If I do any spraying, I tend to do it in this area as well. I put some bubble wrap around, and those fans clear it really well There's some fans behind you as well, which I'll show you. Yeah, some more sockets here, and then up the top I've got a load of screws, washers, nuts and bolts, just general hardware, and some good lighting. Down the bottom I've got a load of removal rugs that I throw up everywhere. There is bulldog clips all over the place, so they get hung up, laid on the worktops and things like that to really deaden the space. Yeah, that's kind of about it really on this side. Then over in this corner I keep a load of foam and felt and bits and pieces under here. Again, I keep a load of that in my storeroom in the garage. My crossover board for when I'm designing crossovers, speaker cloth, rags, loads of bits and pieces. There's also one of these organisers under there full of various cables, power supplies, audio cables, God knows what else, wiring, isopropyl alcohol, load of that which I get through, spray cans, spray glue, contact adhesive, rollers, all sorts. Below the computer I've got drawers full of old drivers, vinyl wraps, bits and pieces like that. So then I've got the PC that I keep in here. It's just handy. The only thing I use this for is just keeping a track of emails while I'm working in here. I've got my measurement software, both REW and DATS, set up on this, so I use that all the time. It's just good to have a very nice sturdy level desk. Always some form of coffee or tea or Bovril on the go. Yeah, just a nice little officey area of the workshop. So just coming round to this bit, some more fans, loads more bulldog clips all over the place for the cloths. My fan heater, which you can hear running, that heats this space up really, really well. There's a load of insulation above the ceiling as well, and yeah, it's never cold in here. All my organising drawers, which are full of hardware, crossover components, you know, resistors, inductors, capacitors. I've put a third one up, which I need to fill with a load of stuff I've got in bags. Yeah, just general bits and pieces down here, wood saws, spirit levels, multimeter for some reason, silicon gun. Yeah, kind of normal stuff you'd find. We've got a load of plumbing stuff down here as well, but that's not really useful for speakers. So this section of the workshop, I've got my vise here, drawer full of hardware, drawer full of random tools, including an axe. Yeah, that's not pretty useful, or not very useful for speaker building, unless you've had a really bad day. I've got my paint gun, which I use quite often with a compressor. Set of scales for drug dealing. That was a joke. A circuit board clamp. My inductor winding machine thing there. Load of bobbins for that. Moving across, power tools basically, and loads of organisers with crimps and grommets and screws and nuts, bolts, belt sander, jigsaw, probably an SDS drill in there somewhere. Yeah, a few bits and pieces, and then just moving along. Make sure you can still see that. Just moving along, big toolbox full of socket sets and wrenches and God knows what, loads of spanners. my Dyson Hoover that lives down there. I find the Dyson Hoovers are really good for dust extraction on the backs of power tools, because they don't clog up. They just don't lose suction with fine dust like that. I don't think they're particularly great personally for cleaning your house, but for that sort of thing, they're really good. Highly recommend them. And you can pick them up quite cheap. What have I got here? Drawer, cupboard full of random bits and pieces. Packaging stuff, gloves, masks, high-vis jackets for some reason. Load of my labels that go on the speakers when I finish with them, stickers and things. And then in here, a load of drivers that I tend to just keep at hand. Again, I've got a pile of these in the stores. Loads of different tweeters, some old crossovers, a few little things I'm working on, a stock of drivers, loads of electronic repair bits and pieces, resistors, capacitors, fuses, washers, nuts, bolts, springs, God knows what else. Just general small bits of hardware in there. And yeah, good work surface again. Lighting underneath, so it's really well lit in here. Most of the work surface just tends to get bogged up with speakers, drivers, bits and pieces that are just waiting to go back into cabinets and things like that. But yeah, right, I'll turn you around to the next bit. So this space is probably where you tend to see me on my videos most of the time. So cupboards there. Okay, make sure you can see that. Yep. So cupboards here with tap and die sets, rivet guns, precision tools, loads of clamps for cabinet building, big staple gun, car body panel beating stuff for some reason, more clamps, hot air gun, yeah, disposable gloves and glue. And then over here is the stuff I really want on hand all the time. So staple guns, craft knives and scissors, bits and pieces, offcuts of cable for just little bits and pieces, loads of offcuts of lacquered wire for inductors and things like that, wood filler, heat shrink sleeving, velcro, ribbon, a load of out of date coins, useful, glue guns, my labeler, a load more tools, loads of soldering stuff, the meters I tend to use, keep a little socket set here just for general stuff, and then I've got filler and glue and stain and all sorts around here. More clamps, more bulldog clips, wood glue, isopropyl alcohol, just cleaning stuff, another fan there, soldering iron, loads of solder, sockets everywhere. I've got no end of sockets in here. Yeah. Then under here, just general storage. This is just full of tools I use from time to time elsewhere. My bin. Yeah, that's it really. So I guess one other thing is the table saw, which doubles up as a table. And in fact, this is really useful, surprisingly. Eventually I'm going to make a proper top for it, which is a little bit bigger. But for the time being, I just have a few sheets of MDF and ply laying on top of it, which are actually for a project. So yeah, table saw, really handy thing to have. At some point I need to build a sledge for it and bits and pieces like that, but I have my fences and things that fit to this. When I was putting this together, I sealed it all up with a board underneath and silicone and tried to make it as airtight as I could, so when I put the vacuum on it, all the extract is happening through here, and that also keeps the motor clear of dust and things like that as well, and that works really well. So I can literally fire up the Dyson, plug it on the end. I actually have two Dysons. One is in the underneath the workbench there, and normally when I'm using this I will put both of them on here, one on this attachment and one on another hole I made down there, and that just sucks everything out. So if I'm cutting MDF and things like that, it just keeps the workshop really clean. I keep a load of clamps and bits and pieces under there for cabinet building, that kind of thing. And you'll notice I've got a massive rug down on the workshop floor, and I put that down I think just before Christmas, and I actually find it easier to keep clean with that, and it's just a bit more nice in here. Getting a tight woven carpet covered in sawdust and bits and pieces isn't a problem. It just hoovers up perfectly, probably better than it did on the concrete floor. But yeah, that's the workshop really. Yeah, it's a workshop and I tend to live in here. Catch you soon.